Hey guys, Bice Bump here, bringing you another Mythic Plus video. Today we're taking a look at a 24 Sanguine Depths where I'm running the Unholy Death Knight Tyrannical build, as I like to call it. This video will take us through the entire dungeon. I will talk you through my talent choices, legendaries and all that kind of thing. And then I'll also bring commentary to my rotation. You can see, so I got my rotation here, right above me. I got all the talents, silver ones, all those kind of things right in front of you, so you can have a look at that at the same time. I feel that Tyrannical is Unholy's strength. We can do such an insane amount of burst damage with our Army of the Dead, proccing our 4Ps from the relics, proccing our 4Ps on the Lieutenant and spawns, and then, you know, synergizing that with Bloodlust. It just deals so much single target burst. For talents, I could pick up essentially the normal raiding build. There is a non-obvious choice here, and it's between Clawing Shadows and Always Serve. You can see for this specific dungeon I'm running Clawing Shadows, but the thing is, Clawing Shadows will deal less single target damage, and Always Serve will deal a significant amount of AoE as well. If you didn't notice, Always Serve cleaves for 50% of the single target damage on all targets around the specific target in 8 yards. So it also deals quite a lot of AoE damage. Clawing Shadows, on the other hand, gives you so much utility. You can run out of range, keep up your DPS, you can pop down your Death and Decay, you can cleave from range, and it's just very useful in specific instances. I think Sanguine Depths is one of them. There's a lot of AoE on the ground that you need to move out from. You can see the Echoing Thrusts there. You can also have the traps coming in, and that means that Clawing Shadows gains a lot of value. Overall, I'm not convinced Clawing Shadows makes you deal more damage overall, but it for sure feels better. So, kind of personal preference, not sure, no specific clear-cut choice there. Now, for Covenant, I run Necrolord. I think this is the best Covenant for this specific build. You deal a lot of burst damage, like Abomination Limb itself deals a ton of burst damage, and with the Abomination Frenzy legendary, you get a 20% extra damage increase, which synergizes very well on in your opener on bosses and that kind of thing. It's also lovely to have Fleshcraft as a button. I like to fully channel it, give a big shield, gives a very good defensive, especially in Sanguine Depths. It's very useful on the third boss. You will see me leverage it there to a great extent. For Soul Binds, I like to run Marilith. So for Unholy, we want triple potency conduits. That's because we both have Convocation of the Dead, we have Eternal Hunger, we have Brutal Grasp. All those three are very good conduits, so we want to pick up all of them. And this means that our previously good Covenant, which was good Soulbound, AMA, with the crit buff you get, it loses value because picking up that crit buff, the Marrow Gemstone, means you don't pick up triple potency. You really don't want that. So I recommend running Marilith. It gives you 120 permanent mastery. It gives you a nice 6% damage increase single target when you press Abomination Limb, which is great for bosses. And it's overall a nice soulbind to use, and I just always use it essentially. Right, for legendaries, it's Prince of Monstrosity, and I feel like there's really no competition there. Like, it deals almost the same amount of single targets as Deadliest Coil, as well as great AoE. So it's the best kind of balance between single target and AoE. It's versatile, works everywhere. When it comes to the rest of your gear, for Trinkets, I'm not quite sure what's best here. So in this specific instance, I'm actually running Old Warrior Soul. That's the trinket that comes from Sylvanas in the previous raid here, and it's just incredibly good for raiding. And I feel like in Mythic Plus, it can also have great value. For instance, in this case, we'll pull the boss when I have 5 stacks. That's a great amount of value. To give a good instance of how I open on a boss, I go on first main target, double festering, swap to the use Soul Reaper on that, make sure it dies first, go back to the boss, and then pop all my cooldowns with my trinket, with everything I have. I didn't quite time everything perfectly here, but my Apocalypse coming up, my Dark Transformation coming up, I'm going to pop down Death and Decay, I'm going to level up my Soul Reaper on the and try and get off as many procs as possible. You can see he's going down quite slowly here, which is great news for us because that means more uptime on our 4-piece. You can see there I'm at 37k. That's obviously some damage dealt to but the majority of that is coming from the boss. This is why Unholy is good in Tyrannical. We burst incredibly high on bosses. I think it's hard to see any other class that will beat us in a pure single target burst like this. Depends on if our cooldowns are not aligned properly, but overall, we are a single target god in dungeons. If I get beaten by another class in any kind of raiding, any kind of a dungeon encounter, I'm gonna be sad. Right, you can see that fully channeled Fleshcraft, help out the healer. Do lose some uptime, but that's fine. We're outside of our cooldowns. I don't think there's much else to mention about, you know, the gear. For the stats, you can see my actual stats right up on my head. Generally, we want mastery as our highest, and then we want kind of equal crit and haste. For raiding, we want haste to be above crit always, but for move to class, crit gains value in the AoE situations. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. We're hitting our second cooldown window here. Generally, what will happen is that you're on a boss, you pop Abomination Limb on pool, if you've saved it properly, and then you will have backup for 2 minutes. And I like to save my Blight TT in our pockets, like 15 seconds or something to hold them, to line them up with our second Abomination Limb. The boss generally doesn't last long enough for it to be worthwhile to use those cooldowns as soon as they come up, so saving them for the second Abomination Limb gives you a nice burst window, which generally also happens when you get into execute. Another note here, we have the tier set, and I get quite a lot of questions, you know, how do we use it? You want to use it as much as you can, you know. In any instance where you can use Soul Reaper and get a proc, use it. Right, you will see me, I will be sniping small mobs in any given pool to proc it as soon as possible. As soon as something is about to die, use it. I'm very greedy with using it. You essentially want to maximize your Soul Reaper uptime. Couple notes for this boss. We are kiting here at the end. I wanted him to charge away from the orbs, which is why I stood on that side. We can use Death's Advance to avoid a knockback. We can use Fleshcraft to avoid a knockback. Aim Z is very useful for when you trigger the orbs once they come out. And then you can also use AMS to help yourself with surviving. I think that's it, and then you normal rotation. Right, when it comes to absolute stat values, I run around 1000 mastery, and then 500-600 haste and crit, and then versatility is whatever it is. And that's pretty much it. Cool, that's enough chat about non-rotation related things. So let's talk about how we actually approach the packs we're killing and what kind of rotation we use. So generally, what we want to do is open up with a double Festering Strike. Okay, that's pretty much for any given pool. Double Festering Strike is a good thing to do. Once we've done that, we hit Apocalypse, Dark Transformation, and Unholy Blight together. The double Festering Strike on the target will set us up for the Apocalypse. The Blight and Dark Transformation will start dealing lots of AoE damage. After this point, we're going to hit Epidemic. We've generated quite a lot of runic power, both from the Festering Strikes, they give us 20 each. And then we get some runic power as well from triggering Apocalypse, because the Wounds we burst gives us 3 runic power each. Once we've dumped the Epidemics, we pop down Deafen Decay, we start spamming Scourge Strike / Clawing Shadows. And that's the general kind of, yeah, that's the rotation we use. After we've done that, we enter the single target rotation, so just Festering Strikes, Scourge Strikes, and then we spend our runic power on Epidemics. You can see me here, exactly as I said, double Festering, use our cooldowns on Apocalypse, dump the runic power, pop down Deafen Decay, and spam the Clawing Shadows. That's what you do. I used my Army of the Dead here, you can see it was ready already. You want to use that as much as you can in a dungeon, right? If Army of Dead is sitting ready on your boss and you're not pressing it, you're going to lose out casts overall. It's so important to leverage it properly. Obviously, when you have bosses, when you have loss at the start, you want to play around that and make sure you have army ready for it. But a positive thing about the 4 set, being in execute is almost as good as being in bloodlust and opener. So even though you don't have army for the opener on a boss, you can use it in execute and still get insane value. That's not quite true for Myth Plus encounters, because you can use Soul Reaper on the relics and then the lieutenants and spawns. But overall though, it means that you can be more greedy than usual with your army. So make sure to press that as much as possible. This here is on a bursting week. Just a tip there, your AMS will immune bursting stacks. So if you're in a big pool, like Plaguefall, first pool there, you press AMS, it will just avoid all of that damage because you just don't get the debuff to start with. When someone uses Shroud, or you're using Invis Potions, or you're using the Woo relic, dismiss your pet. It should be fine to have your pet up, but sometimes it isn't, and then it kind of sucks to not have it. Alright, we got a bit of a wonky pull here. So you can see I didn't really have my cooldowns up there, but I still use some Festering Strikes, generate some runic power, and then I will spend that on Epidemics, and that's a solid way of dealing AoE as well, even outside of cooldown. So you can see I hit like 40k here. I did have lots of buffs and whatever, but still. Another important point, midway through a pack, it is fine to use your cooldowns. Alright, don't save your cooldowns for the next one. You're going to lose out on loss of cast overall, and it's going to hurt both your dungeon timer and your overall DPS. Alright. Let me also cover a little bit more why we use Soul Reaper so much to get the 4 set. So the primary reason is to proc the 4 sets, so our Dark Transformation deals more damage. That's also why it's so important to use Soul Reaper as soon as possible in a pool, because you use Dark Transformation quite early. It's going to last for 18 seconds, and you want to overlap as much of those 18 seconds with the value of your 4 sets. That will mean that your Sweeping Claws, the AoE ability that your pet does, deals a significant more damage. You can hopefully see me do it here, so you know this catnip dude dies much quicker than everyone else, and I can trigger my 4 sets, and that's it. 8 seconds of 50% pet damage is going to do a lot to my overall DPS in this pool. You can see that I got the red circle. That's usually a dispel, but in this case it wasn't, so I just walk outside, I press AMS, I press my IBF just to stay alive. It hurts a ton when you do a high key. Alright, so currently I'm thinking in my head, army 25 seconds, and we've got the boss coming up soon. So the big $1 million question here is, can I use army and have it up for the boss? And I can't actually remember what I did here, so we'll have to see. The fact that we have means that army effective cooldown is actually even shorter than it usually is. In a dungeon, it maybe was like 4 or 5 minutes before, but now it goes down to 3 to 4 minutes, depending on how many Earths you can trigger. Which means that we can be a bit more greedy with it. I probably think here that, you know, it's a Tyrannical. Having my army on Bloodlust on the boss is going to be critical. So I'm probably going to be greedy and save it here, even though I lose out on overall. Killing the boss is my primary objective here. So I think I'm going to save it. But who knows, I might have been able to use it and still have it up. Who knows, who knows. I love Abomination Limb on this. Oh, look at that. So this is greedy. So I hold it for like a minute and now I use it. So we'll see if I actually get it up when I need it on the boss. We'll see. It's quite nice though. I can trigger my 4 set on that guy. This gives me a ton of single target like funneling. Get another proc there. I think I'm just doing insane damage to the Sentinel at this point. We do have a couple packs left to kill, so... And I can't actually remember if I had it up or not. I know one thing, and that's that we killed the boss. So I know that, and the question is... We'll see, we'll see. So he's going to do this thing where he pulls back lots of mobs. We're going to walk inside this little room here and LOS them so they can nicely move onto the cage. That's another issue, which can be solved with Death Knight. We have lots of grips here. But if you don't have grips or pushes or whatever, LOSing the mobs makes them move nicely in the correct area. So you can, kill them all. I just noticed here I'm a bit bad with my IQD usage. So when I pressed army previously, I should have used IQD, right? And it seems like I just missed doing that, which is an obvious mistake, but happens to all of us. You can see I'm exiting my Death and Decay window. You can see I get the red debuff. Use AMS there. I probably should have used my Fleshcraft. Fleshcraft is such a great defensive CD. Like, you get 20% damage reduction, and you get what's it called? The shield itself. So you can see I don't have army ready here. So that was probably a mistake earlier, but that's fine. I like to kind of sit back and relax a little bit at the start. Just make sure I don't get hit by the circling thing. Make sure to swap to the relic. Use my Soul Reap on that one. Use the Soul Reap on that formation that spawns. As soon as it dies, you leave this puddle, so make sure you move away from that. Make sure you use Soul Reap on the place. There we go. And you can see on this boss, we pretty much have constant force set up times in the opener, and that's going to be very strong for us. Furthermore, there you can see me there. Even without army, we burst this high, and it's due to using our cooldowns, so both Blight, Dark Formation, and Apocalypse. And then also the fact that our Abomination Limb just deals an absolute ton of damage. And the fact that we can use our force set, and just have lots of uptime on it. Lucky for us though, we're going to have army coming up. This is what I talked about earlier, right? We didn't have army on pool, but we're going to have it up for execute. So it's going to do a good chunk of damage still. Castigator, use AMS for that one. It immunes the cast. It's insane value. The manifestations deal a ton of damage. You want to try and save cooldowns for them. You can't do that fully, but as much as you can. Use our what's it called? AIM-Z to help with the overall damage. And also use defensives, use our potions. If we get an iffy one, just make sure you survive it. I'm looking at my army CD here, but I feel like I can't sit there and wait for ages for it to come up. So I'm just going to pop my cooldowns, and then I'm going to have to use army as soon as it's ready. Alright, we use our... There it comes. Using our Soul Reap as much as possible. One thing I need to mention here, this might be updated after a while, but Soul Reaper is currently bugged. So if there's less than 1 second left on the current debuff, like if you get it from the 4 set. Ooh, is it spicy? We use Destruct here to help the healer. Right, if there's less than 1 second and you reapply Soul Reaper, it's going to remove the debuff completely. So you need to be careful so you don't reapply it when it's 1 second left. You can reapply it 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, that's fine, but 1 second left, that's going to bug it, so yeah. Alright, a bit of a messy boss, but we killed it there at the end. So I had my army up and running, so I just pressed my button, my pet attack mark button, to make sure my army minions attack the ad, to make sure it dies quickly. We made it. That final army burst was very helpful. You can see we end up very high on the DPS. Now, Grand Proctor Barilia. Now, this is a spicy one because the higher you go up in keys, the more of a one-shot mechanic the gathering orbs kind of thing is. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide up the room into 5 regions. 4 essentially. And then every player will have their own region where they're going to go and pick up the buff from. So I'm going to be blue, and then we're going to put red here. And then we're going to go, some other colors. So for us, we have lots of things we can utilize to help with the explosion damage. AMS, incredibly strong, makes you survive it no problem at all. We have IBF as well, also very strong, works as a great immunity to also survive it. Our Fleshcraft, another powerful button, and our AMZ. So we essentially have 4 abilities we can use, and we're going to try to use one of them each time. For a plus 24 Tyrannical, if I pick up 3 orbs, I don't get 1 shot. And that's kind of the criteria. So I would always try to pick up 3 orbs, and then I'll also try to use a defensive in conjunction with it. That's going to make me survive. Furthermore, we can leverage our Death Strike. It is very powerful on this boss, specifically because we're taking such a huge chunk of damage, meaning that it's going to heal for an absolute ton of. Alright, so we get this ability. Goal here is pick up 3 orbs. Oops. You see I'm not using a defensive here, and I go down to 20% health, so it's no problem at all. And then I had a Death Strike there with a Dark Succur proc. That's what you get if you kill something, right? Which heals, makes it heal even more, so I'm instantly back off to full health. Killing at the start is quite nice. It means that AMS is going to have an effective, very short CD. So usually I would use AMS on the first one, kill and then have AMS up for the second one as well. You can see how I'm trying to kill it so that we get the buffs soon. It helps us with this cast. I only pick up 2, but 2 plus AMS, no problem. I survived that without any issue at all. But that did not go as well for our rogue. Anyway, there's not much else to it. You dodge around, you wait for the next time you need to go pick up. You pick up 3 orbs, you pop a defensive when possible, and then you continue. And that's this boss. If you get hit one of the swallows, that's an instant 1-shot, so that needs to be avoided. But other than that, we use Desert Dancer. I'm going to use my IBF. You can see there, so instead of going down to 20% health, I went down to 40. And then I used the Death Strike to help out the healer. I have my Fleshcraft ready, so I'm sitting here planning here. I'm going to use my Fleshcraft for next. You can see there that for Abomination Limb, that was the second run. Again, as I talked about earlier, we save Blight, DT, and Apoc for it to get a nice big second burst window. Alright, aiming for 3. Always try to get 3 because they might actually, someone else might need them. Oops, I think he messed up there. GG indeed. Oh well. The good thing about someone dying is that there's more orbs for everyone else. More for us now, indeed. So now I can pick up 4 or something similar. I didn't have army for pool, but I will have army for execute. So you can see here I'm waiting for my cooldowns to come up. And then I'm going to use my army, followed by Blight, DT, and Apocalypse. I have AMS for this one, which is lovely. And this is going to be my big burst. So I see it start at 10k. Let's keep track of that number. And then we use our other CDs. You don't need to army can come and then you can wait 5-10 seconds until you use everything else. I think I was a bit later because army had been going for 12 seconds at that point, but there can generally be quite a long duration between pressing army and pressing Blight and DT. As long as army always have to be pressed first. Couple supremacy, use fleshcraft. Drop to only 60%, like, so powerful. Still, I use a depth strike to keep myself healthy. Dodge, dodge, dodge. I can see I have my abomination limb up again. I'm gonna time that with all my other cooldowns. And then I have my anti-magic shell for the next orb collection. We pick up 1, and then we go for 2. 2 plus AMS, no problem at all. And the boss is dead. I feel like this is all about not panicking, planning your defensive properly, and ensuring you always pick up 3 orbs. That's it. Now, what's left of this dungeon is we're gonna pull this pack out, LOS it, kill it, and then we're gonna use the Shroud of the Rogue, go into the Gauntlet, and then we're gonna be done. You can see we have 14 minutes, so there won't be any issue at all with the timer. So this pack to put down traps, that's why it's so nice to have Clawing Shadows, because if you want to, you can pop down Deafening K and cleave from range. If you didn't know this already, your Deafening K cleave, it doesn't depend on the mob standing in your Deafening K. It's all about if you are standing in your Deafening K. So with Clawing Shadows, you have the range, you can go out of range, pop down Deafening K, and just stand there and cleave. I don't use it that often, but for instance in Plaguefall, you have those blobs that do this cast you can drop, which has a very short AoE. I will sometimes go and stand in range and DPS from there, so I don't have to care about it. I dismiss my pet hair again. Do not want it to do some random pulling and mess this run up. It's easy to do, and it just makes it safer for us. Also, when you get out into this room, don't just run to the bridge instantly. That's gonna trigger the event, so you run to the sides and wait for everyone to get through, and then you can go and trigger. And this is just gonna be a long piece of pressing loads and loads of Epidemic, using a great ton of Soul Reapers to get our full set, and then using our cooldowns as much as possible. See if you can target something. There we go. If you didn't know this already, Soul Reaper, you can get the full set proc both from something getting the explosion at 35% health. You know, if it explodes after 5 seconds, and if they're below 35% health, it explodes. That works for the full set. Also, if it dies, it works for the full set. So you can kind of see me hitting all these low health mobs that then die, and then they give me the full set. But ideally, if you can, as in this case, you want to hit something that actually gives you the explosion, because that gives you a ton of extra damage. Also, always a bit scary entering a new pool, so I'm going to pop some defensives, make sure I don't get randomly one-shot by a melee or a cast or whatever. I see you have my army up. I will try and use that on the main target, the boss, to get some nice damage in. Overall, we're doing well on time. We have had a couple of deaths, but I feel like for Tyrannical, as long as you don't wipe on the bosses, the trash takes such a short amount of time that generally you have lots of time to complete a dungeon. But then again, as soon as you wipe a single time on a boss, it's over. So it's a bit of a, yeah, it's a bit different from Fortified, where you end up in situations where you maybe wipe once or twice on trash, but it's not too bad. And then the bosses are easy, but the overall, the trash just takes so much time that you lose out. You lose overall. All right, keep going. We actually don't need to press Fleshcraft on cooldown to keep the mastery buff in Mythic Plus, because we get so much cooldown reduction. Like whenever you walk over a dead mob, right, it reduces the cooldown Fleshcraft, which means that the effective CD is much shorter than 2 minutes. This means that you don't need to actually hit Fleshcraft as soon as it comes up again. However, it is good practice to do so, because Fleshcraft gives you a good chunk of shield, which is useful in every instance. Like, it prevents one-shots. If you walk into a trap, for instance, and you have a full Fleshcraft up, you won't die. Generally. Depends on the key level, of course, but it's good practice to be a good DPS and press your Fleshcraft a lot. and channel it fully. All right. Also, we try and use that when it interrupts as much as possible. Help reduce the damage intake of the group, you know. There we go. Got Definite K down. Do some cleave. Another question I get a lot, you know, is it okay to cleave with your Scourge Strike / Clone Shadows in Definite K if you don't have any wounds up on targets? And with this build, the answer is yes, it's okay. Generally, like, you would never press Festering Strike once you pop down Definite K. If you end up in a situation where you feel you should be doing it, you probably set it up in the wrong manner. So once Definite K is down, just spam Scourge Strike. It's just a much more efficient damage, essentially. Alright, we're soon done with a dungeon. 9 minutes left. It's going to be a breeze as long as we don't fail on the last boss. I think the warrior might die again, but I think I'm fine here. I won't be failing. I'll give you some tips and tricks for the last boss as well. We can do some nice things to dodge. There we go, a full fleshcraft. That's kind of like insurance. If I get hit by a trap, I won't die, which is nice. I think we have guys there. Do they summon the weapons? No, I think that was the last pack. You know those guys that summon small weapons to fight for you? Try and stun those. So use your fixate or use your pet stun to make sure they don't cast it. It helps reduce the damage intake a lot. You can see our lots of traps here. I'm not focusing too much on doing my rotation. Instead, I'm paying full attention to where the traps are, so I don't make a silly deaths. You see, spawns one underneath me. Move out. Final boss. I'm going to ask for a bit of time here. You can see I have an army in 50 seconds, and we have 8 minutes on the clock. So it's generally a good idea to wait a little bit to make sure we actually have a good opening burst. There we go, and just makes the fight shorter, so we reduce the risk of wiping, essentially. This boss though, like if you play it properly, you take 0 damage almost. Like, you know who does this little charge? I will show you how to dodge it, but that can be dodged. Is AoE, we can use like lots of things there. So you can see I'm not paying too much attention about actually killing there, letting the other people deal with that. Okay. Now we're in the burst window. We're making sure we get our execute procs of and then hitting the boss. And you know, we got 30k, 31k, 32k. It's a lot of damage, right? Now, so his charge can be dodged by moving away from it. So once you get it, move away from the group, and then just move in one direction. Oops, I nearly died there because I jumped into the frontal. So don't do that. But generally, you can actually dodge it if you move properly. So again, I get it. I move away from the team, and then I just keep moving. And you can see I don't get the dots. Sometimes you're unlucky and get it, but overall you can dodge like more than 50% of the dots, which helps a lot for your healer. Aim set for this one helps reduce damage. Great to just press it. We rush again, run out to the side, keep moving. We got it. You can also jump to dodge it, so you can see me doing it there, but I mistimed it, so unfortunately I didn't manage to block that one. We have second abomination limb coming up in 15 seconds. I'm probably gonna hold my cooldowns. No, not this time. Okay. I probably should have held my cooldowns there. You don't do that in a raid fight because they're usually longer, but in this kind of short fight, you are unlikely to lose out on a cast overall. It's good to use AMS for that stacking portion, because there's nothing else that deals magic damage in this fight, so might as well reduce that, right? Boss is more than halfway through. This is a bit of a slog here. But we're just going to play perfectly. Use Death's Advance. Death's Advance is like a guaranteed dodge because you move so quickly, which means that you don't get the debuff, which helps the healer. We got to use AMS here, as I said. Get some extra runing power as well to deal some more damage. Wicked Rush. Run out. Toss the frontals. Didn't dodge the dot though. But I use my Fleshcraft fully, help out the healer. Not that he seems to need a lot of help, but you might as well do your little pieces to make everyone else's life easier. Alright. Bit more to go. 20% health left on the boss. Move out to the side. Keep moving. Always a shame when I don't manage to dodge it right, but we try our best. We have IQD up again, just use it with our cooldowns. Boss is about to die very soon, and we're gonna be all good. I hope you guys liked this video. I've done a couple of these in the past. I've been able to push a bit higher keys this season, so I'm keen to show off what Unholy can do in those kind of situations. I think it's 100% viable for Tyrannical. It's so useful to have that burst on bosses, and it helps out the group overall to complete the dungeon. Hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below. Let me think what you think about it. Upvote, downvote. Do consider subscribing and hitting that bell if you want to see more of this kind of content. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.